Now we got Miguel, who's going to teach us all about how he's taking those investment properties and investing them a second time through Airbnb. So, Miguel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And that was a great intro. No pressure there.
Well, this is nothing new to you. You joined us before, so
hopefully I won't disappoint. Can I share my screen? I have a few slides
100%.
that okay. Is there anything that I need to do, or
just let me get out of your way and then just hit the green button at the bottom that says share screen.
All right, good there?
There you go. I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to tag, by the way, Denise was, I couldn't log in earlier. I had a personal thing, but I was able to catch Denise training, and it was awesome. And she's absolutely on point and right on pretty much everything that she said on regards to Airbnb and how you invest and reinvest some of that money. And that's basically one of the strategies I have used along with my wife in order to build wealth and be able to grow our rental portfolio. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about limiting the beliefs, use debt to your advantage, investing in real estate, obviously, some tools and strategy, and how to become a millionaire using basically what we have at our disposal, right? I mean, we're all real estate agents here, or for the most part, I will guess. And we have access to so much information, right? So many tools. If we are doing and offering those type of opportunities to our clients, why cannot we take advantage of those opportunities ourselves for our family? Passive income, obviously, is one of the benefits, peace of mind, free time, but in reality, we're not actually freeing our time, we're buying our time. It's how I like to call it. And ultimately being able to spend the time with the people that we love the most, right? Denise was talking about the big why. What's your why? Is it an income or regards to a number? Or is it, because you just want to have vacations and you want to go to baseball little league with your kids or whatever the case may be for those hobbies, right? A little bit about myself. I started in real estate as a state certified appraiser, or at least that was the first license I was able to obtain. I literally started cleaning houses and painting with a group of investors in Tampa, Florida. That's how I became a broker associate a few years afterwards when I decided that appraising was not for me. I wasn't enjoying it. Joined Keller Williams in 2019. And I was able to double my production the following year with the systems and models of Keller Williams, becoming, thankfully, one of the top agents for the region. And in addition to that, we manage properties for long-term tenants and vacation rentals as well. And this is not only our properties, but also for some of our investors. Okay. This is my big why. This is my family over here. That's in a restaurant in Miami. We love going out to eat. That's one of the reasons why we do what we do, is so we can be able to enjoy with the kids and family, traveling and going to good restaurants. Okay. I know I already mentioned this and I already told you a little bit about my bio, but what most people don't know and that sometimes I don't really like to talk about is that on my very first deal, I actually lost money. I couldn't even close. I was partnering up with my aunt and a very good friend of mine, and we literally couldn't close the deal. And because they were doing the transaction with me at that moment, I felt the responsibility of returning their escrow money deposit, which we lost on that transaction. And that was $10,000 in escrow. I came to this country 21 years ago, 2001, May of 2001. And I don't know how, but by 2008, I was $115,000 in debt. So I was able to pay it off a couple of years, like 3-4 years already. And 2 years ago, we became millionaires using basically real estate strategies, right? And investing, not spending everything that Denise was talking about, that how you allocate a portion of your commissions to reinvest them. And that's one of the very first things my wife and I decided to do when we were in debt. We said, you know what, from this point on, we want to pay ourselves first. We want to pay ourselves 15%. And then whatever it's left from that amount, then we'll go ahead and pay the rest of the debt with that money. And that's how we bought actually our first home. We were able to save enough money for a down payment to buy our home. Limiting beliefs, right? It's a lot of people think or say that money is the rule of all evil. If I have money, I'll go to hell. Millionaires are bad people. I do not want to be greedy. I'm happy with what I have, or I don't have any money, or I'm in debt. I cannot make it happen. Listen, if I could do it with a choppy English and $115,000 in debt, anybody can do it. I mean, it's how was the saying? It's not that it's easy. It's simple, right? It's all about systems and replicating them, and you're not gonna come, or you're not gonna get to that point overnight. It's a process, and it takes time. It takes time. I love what Steve Harvey says this is one of the things I do early in the morning when I wake up. I go into Instagram, which I know every guru and self-motivated person will tell you, don't pick up your phone for the first for the first hour or so. But I do go into Instagram. I watch or read some news related to real estate in particular. And I like to watch some funny videos or motivational videos. And I really like this video of Steve Harvey when he talks about money. So let me see if I can play it. No. Let me see. There you go. Can you guys hear it? No?
No, when you hit share, did you hit the share with sound? Just hit the share button again, and it should give you an option to share with sound.
New share. Oh, share sound. Got it. I didn't know that. You learn something every day.
That's what your tech trainers are here for.
Let me know if you can hear it, please.
Still can't hear it.
Nothing? That's weird. Okay, long story short, hold on. Long story short, what the video talks about is that money doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. It's what Steve Harvey says. It basically amplifies who you are. And I love that, because a lot of people think that because they have money, you become this bad person, right? Or and the reality is if when you have money, you basically become that bigger of a person that you already are. If you're a good person and if you like to donate money, you're just gonna be more like a philanthropist. Basically, you want to donate more money, you're gonna be able to help more people. If on the other hand, you are an a-hole, basically, well, that's how you.
I got pulled up if you want me to have it play.
What is it?
I've got it pulled up if you want me to have it play.
Oh, please. Thank you. He says it better than me.
I found the link on YouTube, so if you just click on the chat, that should be there.
Money can't make you happy. Money don't make you happy. I know a lot of miserable people with money.
You guys hear it?
Money that makes you happy.
I can hear you.
No.
Yes.
It don't make you happy, but it'll park you right.
It is low,
house.
but it starts off low. I think I've seen this before.
Stay there. I recommend money. I highly recommend it. And anybody that told you that money different about money is because they don't have none. But you got to quit listening to people that ain't got money tell you about money. money the root of all evil and all that shit. You do evil stuff with money, but if you're a good person, you can do good stuff with money. You know, people say that money changes people. It really doesn't. You know what I learned about money? Money don't change people. Money allows you to be more of who you really are. See, if you're a kind person, when you get a lot of money, you become a kinder person. If you're an asshole, when you get a lot of money, you become a big asshole. It's money, it allows you to amplify whoever you really are. That's why when you see rich people acting like assholes, it's because they always been one. They always been an asshole. They just ain't had the money to flex on to show it to you. That's all it is. But you let their get some money, they finna show your something. And that's it. If you see a person who's cool with money, it's because they always
start cursing from that point.
That's right. I recommend money, but it's all right. I'm gonna do this real quick. Let me see if I got it. I don't have time to do that. I was gonna show you a real simple thing I figured out a long time ago. Before I go today, I'm gonna share it with you. I'm gonna show you.
That's right. Okay, right. That's the clip. Thank you. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. That's just the way it is. Two of my basically mentors, if I can say that. Are you sharing? Am I still sharing my screen, or you are?
No, I took it over, so you got to share it again.
Okay. So you got it? All right, perfect. So here it is. These are my two, I like to call it my good and bad. And the reason I say that is because they have completely different ways of thinking. One of them is Robert Kiyosaki, who obviously loves to go into debt and use leverage. And, every time you can refinance or get a mortgage so you can buy more properties. And Mr. Dave Ramsey, who basically says you need a 15%, 20% down payment and finance a property for no more than 15 years, right? So I took a little bit of both and made my own, along with my wife, in order to be able to acquire some of the properties that we have.
That was the important part, along with your wife.
Always. And whoever says the opposite, they're lying to themselves. It's a partnership, man. I always give the example that if you have two trains, right, two locomotives, you know what I mean. And one of them is pushing south, the other one is going north. You're not moving, right? Imagine if someone is spending and the other one wants to invest. So thankfully, I was very smart. I chose wisely, and we both been on the same page, and it's been a great partnership. I mean, like everything, we have our struggles and discussions when I tell her that I want the house to be in a certain way, and she say yes, but it go ahead and does whatever she wants anyway with the budget, especially with the budget. But the reality is that they come out pretty good, and I have no complaints. We've been very grateful. Just to show you a quick example, okay? This is our latest acquisition. This is a property that we bought in Fort Lauderdale. So people always ask me, right, Miguel, is this a good time to buy? Literally, we bought this property on May 19 of this year. It's when we close. Property's been on the market for 30 days, which in May, obviously now the market has cooled off a little. I mean, we all agree that the market today is completely different and how the market was behaving in April or May. So I saw this property because we were managing another property in the same area, and the investor of that property is having great success with Airbnb. And I noticed that this property was on the market for over a month, and I decided to drive by with my kids and take a look at it. This is basically how the property looked at the time that we purchased it. One of the things that I really like about this property is that if you can see the location here on the map, it's literally next to the highway. That's I-95. Literally, the wall of the highway, I can touch it on my yard, basically on the yard of the house. And the house just had a weird layout. Maybe the typical buyer or the typical person that wants to live on the property wants to be there because it's next to a highway. But the way we saw it is, you don't have a neighbor on that side. The property has already impact windows, and when you're inside, you close the door, you close the windows, you literally can't hear a thing. On the back of the property, there's an apartment complex. But the building is not what it's close to this house. What it's close to the house is a parking lot. So one of the biggest complaints for people that do Airbnb, basically one of the biggest complaints for the host are the neighbors. And the neighbors constantly call the city either because there's too many cars parked outside, too much trash outside on the trash bins, and because of noise, right? So noise, parking, and trash. And because we basically don't have neighbors other than one to our, let me see, to our left, when I'm facing the property to our left, is that basically our only neighbor. We're basically avoiding all of those possible issues down the future with the neighbors. So that was a pretty cool thing that we were able to find that property. That property in May, okay, that's the address, 1960 Riverside. Like I say, 36 days on the market. And this is basically some of the numbers for that property. We ended up closing it at $429,000 with an $8,000 seller's contribution. So again, it's all about taking advantages of some opportunities. And although a few months ago we were not able to negotiate that much, we did an inspection, which typically we don't do inspections on investment properties, but in order to have a reason or a valid reason to negotiate some of the price, we were able to do it. The property was already over a month on the market. And maybe for the typical buyer or the typical long-term tenant, this property wouldn't work. But for us, it worked perfectly. And because of the condition of the property wasn't bad, we were able to obtain financing. Conventional financing. Most of the times when I get into a property, I have to get either pay cash or get a hard money loan, which gets really expensive. Okay. Right. If you look at the screen right now, you can see that the comparables for that property, and these I pulled them in May. No, sorry, we're in August, in July. These I pulled them in July. So you can see that the price range of the neighborhood puts me already at in a great position, because what I typically do, and I'll show you in a second in the following slides, is that when you find these type of opportunities and you have good enough rental income, you can just go to the bank 6 months and 1 day afterwards and refinance the property based on a new appraisal value. The reason why I say 6 months in 6 months and 1 day is because if you do it before, what ends up happening is that the bank that you're going to refinance it with, it's going to tell you, I can refinance it 75% loan to value, but based on the purchase price. And obviously that's not what we want. We want to make sure, or at least in my strategy with my wife, what we want is to be able to recover as much of the investment money as we possibly can. We have done this several times, and the very first property we did this was this one right here in Margate. So another area here from the Fort Lauderdale metropolitan area. So that property, when we bought it for $65,000. That was back in 2015. A year later, that one, because it was the very first one, it took us a little bit longer to refinance because we were not ready. What I mean by that is that a lot of us go to the accountant. I'm assuming, by the way, this is just a hypothetical. Go to the accountant or a CPA and says, no, I don't want to pay too much in taxes. So, make all the deductions possible. And what ended up happening is that you're hurting yourself, because at the eyes of the bank, you won't be able to qualify for another loan. So you have to find like a happy medium, right? Where you are able to take advantages of all the loopholes and deductions that the IRA has. There's a reason why they have it. But at the same time, you have to prepare yourself in order to continue to invest in more real estate. And by the way, my disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, so consult with your CPA and attorney in case of doubts. So anyway, on this property, we didn't refinance it within 6 months. We took us over a little over a year, but long story short, we bought it for $65,000 after we put $50,000 on it. We refinanced it for $167,000 when the property was like this. And we rented it through our tenant in there was a Section 8 tenant at that time. They were paying $1,900. That was 2016, right? Now, guess what happened last year? Last year, we got the same property and we timed it perfectly. In November, we refinanced this property again at, let me see my notes, $291,000. So not only I have $0 on that property right now, I have a ton of equity, because when you do a cash out refinance, you cannot go above 75%. So I have 25% of equity on the property. Even if the property brings, even if the value of the property comes down, we still have enough equity. It's paying by itself with the rental income. The rental income of the property, we raised the rent to $2,450 or $2,500 last year. So imagine that, and we were able to get all our money out. And we have done this time and time again. This is a property in North Miami. When we bought it for $200,000 as a short sale transaction back in the days when short sales were popular. The property now, okay, and we bought it in 2017 as a short sale. And on 2018, 6 months later, we refinanced it for $385,000. I remember that when we refinanced that property, literally all the money that I was leaving on the table was like $6,000-$7,000. And last year, guess what we did with this property? We refinanced this one again. I mean, this one as well. In November of last year, we refinanced it with an appraisal value of $510,000.
Wow. Hey,
that was November of last year.
If I can, a lot of people think when they're flipping these houses, they have to go in and completely redo everything, and all. You can see these windows still have jealousy windows. What are you renting that out at?
This in North Miami, it's at $2,850 right now.
What makes you make the decision whether to replace something or not?
Meaning, like for example, the windows.
Yeah.
So at financials, it goes back. You know, it all comes down to the numbers. Like in that particular property, and I remember because when we were in 2017, 2018, when we were doing it, this property had an illegal addition, and the city of North Miami requires what's called a certificate of reoccupancy. So basically, please don't repeat this. Every time I can, if I don't have to, I don't pull permits. But because this city requires certificate of reoccupancy, and it had an illegal addition, including the garage and another bedroom, I had to hire a general contractor. So it was a little bit of a lengthier process. So it was already going to be more expensive. And let's say our financial position in 4 years ago, 5 years ago, wasn't the same as it is today. So today I will probably, if I will do this property again, I will probably do the windows, because it's literally the only thing we didn't do. The roof is brand new. Everything else on the bathrooms, flooring, everything else is brand. The only thing that we didn't do at that particular moment was the windows, because of, money. We needed to refinance and recycle the money. Basically, if I could do it now, I will do it. But honestly, it's renting so well, I don't need to. I'm not going to have the property vacant for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks while
I was just going to ask that question. That was going to be my next one. Is in between renters, are you going to reinvest into that property by putting new windows in?
You know what? When the moment comes, It's something that I will have to talk to my wife. But to be honest, I put new windows on it, and I won't be able to charge a higher rent. So that is something that maybe I'll do later when I decide with my wife to sell the property, because maybe at that particular moment it might make a difference. But right now, windows are we just did windows on another property, for example, in Fort Lauderdale. The reason we did it in Fort Lauderdale is because it's so close to the east that I will recover my investment of the windows in 3 years on savings on insurance savings, basically. My insurance is being so expensive right now for that, not this one, but again, another property, that we just decided to do it. We bought the property last year with a long-term tenant. The lease expires in April, and while we bought the property and we had that tenant, we were working with the permits for the pool company. They left in April. We did the windows, we did the roof. We're building the pool. Hopefully the pool will be ready next week. That's what we're hoping for. And so we can put it on Airbnb. But the reason we did it in that one, to answer your question, is because I'm seeing the savings within 3 years.
I just wanted to point it out. Just there's reasonings why you would do that, and I think that's important to look at. Whether it be, just like you said, you could outprice yourself in that neighborhood, and you wouldn't recover that back in rent.
Agree. I mean, ultimately, we have to remember that this is a business, and it has to be a business decision. It's not because you want to, because you're going to live there, because you want it to look prettier. There is a fine line, and I'm going to show you some of that on the next few slides, between making it look pretty and useful at the same time. That there's going to be a return. Now, for example, we own an apartment building, and we decided to do a little bit of a bigger renovation because we wanted to include laundry on each unit. Now, is it prettier or better or more convenient? Absolutely, it is. But I was able to charge $150 to $200 extra in rent, because now I don't have a coin laundry or a common, washer and dryer kind of thing. Now each of our units have a washer and dryer inside the unit. So there is a balance there, and you just have to make a business decision, going to Excel or a spreadsheet and see what kind of return you're going to get on that. Right? But yes, you're absolutely right. And this is a perfect example. So we bought this property on, let me see here, on May of 2021. So we bought it last year, May of 2021. I wrote here 2022. So May of 2021, we bought this property. And the intention was to get the tenants out and put it for sale. Long story short, property had a violation. We didn't want to invest too much money. The market was going crazy. So we just wanted to take advantage of how the market was continuously increasing. We put it in the market in January of this year, I believe. Actually, it's funny because some of the agents have called me and say, cold calling, because I put the property for sale and it ended up expiring. So some of the people have called me to see if I want to list it again. Anyway, this property, the initial idea was to resell it, just do a quickie, rehab, paint, cleanup, and that's it. But buyers wanted to discount the price, and we were not going to discount the price in January or February, the way the market was behaving. So we decided to improve the kitchen, improve the bathrooms. We left the same flooring, same roof, everything else pretty much the same. And we ended up buying this property for, let me see, $210, and 6 months later we refinanced it for $380. So this is one of the, now to be fair, the market helped me on this one, right? So we bought at the right time, between getting the tenant out and getting making the decision of keeping the property. We had like 7 or 8 months spread, somewhere around there. And then we were able to refinance it with a very good price. Remember this property, and this is where it gets, you're going to see the before and after. So this is a property now. This is our latest and most recent Airbnb property. And this is where budgeting, you have to make those decisions. I mean, we were, just to give you an example, that green wall over there, it's the only reason we did it is so we can attract people to take selfies. I'll give you a better picture now, and be able to take to draw more attention to the property, right? The pink, the one that looks like pink, it's our handle on Instagram that we just started it because of this property. And this is a great way for you guys to have another option versus the long-term tenants, right? So on a long-term tenant for that property, we could be charging anywhere around $30,000, $2,800 to $3,200 a month. In Airbnb, on a low season, we should be getting a gross income of around $5,000. So the property is going to be maybe breaking even. Hopefully, that's the point. But on high season, it could be grossing $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 a month. And this is what you guys have to see in order to be able to spot an opportunity, right? A lot of properties in this particular area are over $1 million. And when they go into Airbnb, just imagine how much do they have to charge on a nightly rate in order to be able to pay for that $1 million mortgage or that type of return on investment that you may need. If I was in, I think I mentioned the numbers earlier, 420 or somewhere on the low 40s, on the low 400s, sorry. And even by investing the amount of money that we invested in here, which was much higher than I would like it to be, we were going to be able to recover a very good amount of that, a very good percentage of that money invested when we refinanced the property in November. So we bought it again on May 19. That was the closing. So my mortgage broker already knows that on November 20th, she has to be sending everything to the bank to refinance the property. So October, November, she already has my bank statement. She already has my pesto. She already have everything online. So November 20 comes along, we can start the process. And that's basically how the property looks now. If you see that yard, the amount of lighting, those two little pergolas, the hanging seats, the hammock, the little golf, I mean, those are things that you can save money on, but our goal on Airbnb is to not only provide accommodations, but basically to provide experiences, right? We want to make sure that when a guest comes to the house, they literally feel at home, that there's nothing missing. I mean, my wife, she's a super host. She goes above and beyond to make sure that the guests are taken care of. Like if you are in a 5-star hotel. These pictures, for example, of this mini golf and this little fireplace with it, probably someone comes and they won't even use it. But the reality is that they see the pictures and they say, you know what, I'd rather book this one than these other 5 because we can play golf, or we can put some music and drink some beer, or, you know, get a glass of wine, or whatever the case may be on that yard. So it was a great question when you asked me about the windows, because there is that balance, right? Where should we spend that money or should we just save it and keep our costs a little bit lower? And then those are the type of conversations or a spreadsheet, or, you know, those are the type of numbers that you have to throw and see up to what point does it make sense to go the extra mile for us to be able to get more bookings. And that's one of the reasons why we did it like that on that property. That's basically what I have for Airbnb. Is anything in particular, anything in addition that you want me to touch or talk about?
Yeah, could you just real quick, you did a great job of explaining how you progressed from just buying real estate as an investment and then progressed it into a Airbnb. How did you actually get started though in Airbnb? What made you decide to do that? I would think it'd be the money, because you're just showing that as far as the you're going up to, what did you say, over 15,000 a month? off of Airbnb. What got you there, and how did you start?
I wish I knew how to say this expression in English. Long story short, like 6 years ago, I was talking to someone completely random. We were talking about it, and that person tells me, "No, I'm making a killing on Airbnb." Okay, one of those things that everybody says. And then I don't know, imagine that was a Monday or Tuesday, and then a Wednesday or 2 days after, somebody else in a completely different neighborhood that I can almost guarantee that I know each other, tells me the same thing. "No, I'm making a killing on Airbnb." And then 2 days later, the neighbor of this house, actually, this one looks prettier. The neighbor of this house, the house right here on the left side of that property, tells me the same thing. "No, I'm doing Airbnb with my property. We're moving to Miami Shores." And then I knew that in that same street, there was another investor doing Airbnb. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If there's so many people telling me that they're making a killing on Airbnb, let me just find out a little bit more information. And that's basically what I did. I started doing research, and I talked to my wife and said, why don't we give it a try? We're flipping this property. What if instead of flipping it, we'll just keep it and see how it goes? And we had a property at that moment in an area in Miami called Shenandoah, which is between Coral Gables and Brickell. It's literally right outside Key Biscayne. Sure enough, we were making a killing on that property too. For the Super Bowl, when we rented for the Super Bowl, I think we made like $15,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah. Ultimately, we ended up selling that property in Shenandoah because the city changed the rulings, and they say that if you were going to do short-term rentals, it had to be a minimum of 30 days. So we decided to sell it during the pandemic. Unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of the pandemic, so we sold it for $800,000. That property could be worth right now easily double. Could be anywhere between 1.4 to 1.6. But we invested in another property in Hollywood, and we've been able to turn that money a couple of times, so that was a good thing.
So if you were to make any suggestions to anybody who's looking to get into Airbnb, what did you learn that you wouldn't do again? And what would you do? What would you definitely bet all your money on next time?
I've been, again, I don't believe in luck. Let me start with that. So I'm going to say I'm being smart enough. This is not the typical management. And the reason I say this is because I think that's the one thing I don't like about real estate. That's what I used to do in Tampa, and I hated it every day. Getting the phone calls, the toilet, the AC, the roof. So my wife is the one that does the management. She actually she studied hospitality, and she loves what she does. I mean, she loves managing the Airbnbs. So the one thing, again, I didn't do it, but now that I see and with her all the time, the amount of work that requires to manage an Airbnb or a vacation rental, right? We call it Airbnb because it's what everybody knows, but Airbnb, VRBO, the amount of work that the business requires, it's huge. So my advice is don't manage it. Look for a company that will manage it for you and will take care of your guests, because ultimately the reviews are going to bring more guests to your property, right? And you want to get that super host status as soon as possible. Most people think that when you get to that super host status, you're there and you're going to keep it. And they do a review every 90 days. Airbnb, every 90 days is checking to make sure that you have a 4.8 or above on regards to stars in the reviews. Your response time, there's a bunch of things that they take into consideration in order to give you the super host status.
And is there anything that you for sure learned through doing this that you won't ever do again?
Is there anything
one main tip? like if I was buying a property right now for Airbnb, is there one thing that during that process that you would learn, that you've learned from making the mistake, that you wouldn't do again?
Well, keep in mind the rules can change at any time from the city. Same thing as an association, right? They do a board meeting, and if they decide to change, they change it. The one thing that I will tell you for sure is that you know what the three most important things are on real estate, right? Location, location, location. Okay, for Airbnb vacation rentals, it's even more important. Denise was talking about how she does Vrbo, right? Vrbo is the competition, is basically the competitor for Airbnb. And when Denise was talking, she was talking about beach properties, right? Condos on the beach. And for vacation rentals, that's what you want. You want to be that property that I show you, what we call the Blue House. The Blue House, it's in an area called Riverside in Fort Lauderdale. It's literally 7 minutes, like 3 miles from Las Olas, right there from Port Everglades. So you have the cruise industry, 10 minutes from the Fort Lauderdale airport, and another 10 minutes from the beach. So you are able to attract all the reasons why people come to South Florida to visit.
Awesome. You kind of answered the other questions in chat because they were asking about talking about property management.
I can.
What about property management would you suggest? Somebody told me, I've never done an Airbnb, but somebody told me that Airbnb will take care of some of that stuff for you. What rumors or what things should people know about doing Airbnb?
Airbnb that I'm aware of doesn't take care of anything. Airbnb will take care of you if there is a damage in the property. Airbnb has their own insurance policy. From what I'm hearing from my wife, they're really good at taking care of the host in that sense. But they're typically are more to protect the guest than the host. What you really need to do when you're managing a property, for example, for Airbnb, VRBO, any of these platforms, is to make sure that you use their own way of communicating. So they all have a little messenger. And when there is an issue, they will look at that history. To give you a quick example, my wife recently, we were in the movies and we literally couldn't watch the movie because one of her Airbnb guests was complaining that the city shut off the water. So the guest, this was the day before they were leaving. The guest stayed there for like 10, 11 days, which came up to be around $12,000. The guest sent a complaint to Airbnb saying that they didn't have water the whole stay, basically, and that they wanted the full reimbursement, 100% for, again, they shut off the water supposedly one day. Because we have several Airbnbs on the same area, we sent one of our guys to the property that was in the area to check. The guest didn't allow our handyman to go inside the house. So we already kind of suspected. So my wife, because she has Ring cameras on the outside, she went, scrolling on Ring to watch the video. Sure enough, the guest actually turned off the water meter, the main valve, and she had him on video. So by the time the guest reported a 1-star review on her thing, on her page, she was able to say, by the way, this is a video. This is what he's doing. Please help me out. And not only they didn't allow the claim from the guest, but they also deleted the bad review that she received, which is extremely difficult to raise a bad review. I mean, you really need to have proof.
That's a good point. Making sure you have cameras in places that are allowed.
A keyword, that are allowed. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely don't put it in the bathroom.
Yeah, well, we heard stories from the cleaning crew that she uses. We heard some stories. So that's what I'm telling you. Be careful, beware. And but yes, and you have to make the disclaimer, by the way. So she has on the Airbnb site, when you're looking at the properties, that she has cameras on the front and on the back, on the pool area, just to make sure that everyone is safe. I mean, she can tell you stories of people trying to get into it. Like the other day, there was a couple, they check out. And after they check out, her keypads for the lockboxes are not lockboxes, but the deadbolt of the house, they're time sensitive. So they will open with a particular passcode from 1 hour to X hour, right? So as soon as they check out, it won't work again. But they were smart enough to leave the sliding door open in the back. So she caught them on camera. And I'm like, hey, why are you staying? Why are you going back to the property? Oh, we book until tomorrow. No. Your checkout was today at 10 a.m. or 11. The checkout is 11 a.m., whatever. And if you guys don't get out, I call the police or you guys are going to have to pay me another night. Sure enough, they pay the other night. So you really have to be on top of your game because I'm telling you, it's not as simple as it seems. Oh, yeah, you can. It's easy. You can do everything from your phone. Yes. The other thing, though, your long-term tenants, you typically have your regular business hours. So for her regular business hours is checking sure that the price is correct, making sure that every website is working, checking on the properties, cleaning crews, checking, checkouts, that type of thing. But from 5 or 6 p.m. all the way to midnight or 1 a.m., that's when she starts receiving bookings. Think of it. I mean, when you go home to your spouse, right, is when we should go on vacation. What about this? What about that? And at that time, from 5 to 6 p.m., from 6 p.m. to midnight, we're trying to get dinner or we're going out for, whatever. We're talking or we're in bed trying to watch Netflix or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the phone is bling, bling, bling. Yeah, it's Airbnb. So
it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm
Does
not
anybody else have any
complaining, but
questions?
I'm not complaining, but I am complaining.
Yeah, I get it. It's time to get a VA at that point, right?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get in her head. I need to get her to more Keller Williams trainings.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I'll give you a couple more minutes because we're going to start our next one with Abby Salt here at 3:00. Does anybody have any questions they wanted to ask Miguel before we let him go?
Ryan, I have a question.
Okay,
Miguel, thank you very much, first of all, for doing it. That's great information. My question about tax, I'm not sure. I've never been on Airbnb. Tax you charge your tenants or you pay it? And how much you pay?
What do I charge? I'm sorry, taxes?
Taxes.
Okay, so Airbnb, it's and this might be a question better for my wife because she's the one that does the management. But when you go into Airbnb, depending on how you set up your listing, right? Airbnb will charge more fees either to you, the host, or the guest. Will pass on those fees to the guest. So the way that my wife has it is obviously to pass that on to the guest. When the guest books, Airbnb automatically is charging the tourism or hotel tax, whatever the name of that particular tax is, they charge it directly and they will report it directly. And I went to dinner with a friend of mine for his birthday. Long story short, we were with another couple that I didn't know what their profession was. And when he said that he actually works for the Miami-Dade County, and he told me, yes, I don't have a problem with Airbnb. And this is exactly what he does, is to go after companies or people that are not paying the hotel taxes, the hotel tax. Airbnb, VRBO, they will report it to them and they will collect it at the moment of the booking from the guest or the host, whatever, and they will send the information to the county, right, or the city. But some other pages like, and I'm just giving examples here, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, Hotels.com, some other websites may not do the reporting the same way. So they have to go, the county or the city has to work on going after them in order for those taxes to get paid. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Can I just add one more thing about that? It also depends on the county. The county also is the one that determines who collects the taxes. And if you, as a property manager, collect the taxes, then you have to have a sales use tax license for your business. So, and then you collect the taxes and you got to pay those taxes on behalf of your client or homeowner. So Airbnb, VRBO will do it also sometimes, but if the county requires the homeowner pay for it, then they don't collect it, then you got to pay for them. So yes, there's little nuances that need to be navigated before you get into Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has to pay the taxes, right? The county doesn't care who does it, but somebody has to pay them. Absolutely, Jaime. Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree with that.
Is there any resources that you use to try and make sure you stay on top of where you can get Airbnbs from, or which ones allow short-term rentals? I think that's the biggest thing that most of the agents have a problem with is, how do I find these ones? Because it's difficult to navigate that. It's not like they put a website out that says these are available for you that are Airbnb.
Correct. And there's no particular way. All I do is I look for, again, location. What's important. Like, for example, we always have to surround ourselves with business-minded people, right? And our team, the contractors, the property manager. So I constantly talk to my wife. Honey, why are these family? Most of our properties are big properties. So 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms. So there's always, 8 people, 10 people staying on a home. And typically are either bachelorette or bachelor parties, or 2-3 families that come together from a cruise or after a cruise. So I ask those questions, and based on the information that she provides me, then I'm the real estate agent. I'm the expert. I'll go and look for those type of neighborhoods. That's why I was telling you on those particular areas, or just to give you the example of the Blue House, that property just hit the market on Airbnb last week. Yeah, last week we passed inspection from the city. So I don't have the proof yet to actually tell you, but in my mind, this is going to be a great home because of the location on regards to the port industry, on regards to the airport. If you want to go have a good time, you go to Las Olas. If you want to go to the beach is literally 10 minutes from there. So that's basically what we look for. Even if you want to go to downtown Fort Lauderdale, downtown Miami, or Wynwood area, which is one of the hottest areas here in South Florida, it's another 25, it's not 10 minutes, but it's 25 minutes. And it's obviously cheaper to rent here than to book somewhere in Wynwood. So those are the things that I look for when I'm looking into investing in Airbnb. There's not an option in my MLS to say Airbnb okay or okay to Airbnb. I just look for those areas, and particularly look for no HOAs. That the property doesn't have an HOA or an association. It's become so popular in our area that I've seen more often nowadays realtors marketing the property, great Airbnb investment property. It's already an Airbnb, already used as a vacation home on the, I don't know if you guys have it in Tampa or in other areas. Right here in Miami, we call it broker remarks.
Yeah.
Or agent
Realtor
remarks. Yeah. So this is where they mention something like that. And if I do searches like that as well. So sometimes I do a search, broker remarks, and I, contain Airbnb or VRBO or vacation. And then I look for those properties. But typically, when they market the properties like that, they're also marketing the properties higher for a higher price, because the return on investment is much higher than your typical long-term tenant. So you have to be careful with that.
Thank you so much, Miguel. We got to go, but one last thing: how often do you get to enjoy these Airbnbs? Ever?
That's the great thing. Every time I tell my wife, "Let's go stay on that property," oh, it's occupied, it's booked.
Oh darn!
It is one of our clients. She lives in Michigan. She wants to stay on her house for Christmas. So my wife showed her, okay, Lisa, this is how much money you're going to be making in that week that you want to stay. I think that week was like $12,000 for 1 week, like $12,000. No, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't block it. I'll go stay with my mom. It's very profitable. If you run it correctly, it's a very profitable business.
Juan Carlos says, don't use your own supply. Street rules here. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Miguel. I appreciate you, sir. The Miguel Maria.